If you're in your early 20s as I am, you probably spend a lot of time looking back on the past quarter decade of your life and reflecting on core childhood memories. For example, some of my childhood memories where I felt like I was at the height of my life at that point were like hitting my first baseball home run or being at the top of a ski resort. And there are also some bad core memories like when I got my first F on a test or a dead relative or something like that. But I'd argue the parts of your early life that you revisit the most during your mental breakdown at 2:30 a.m. on a Wednesday when you gotta be up at 6:30 a.m. are probably those non-meaningful, mundane moments that you aren't really doing anything significant. Let me give you an example. When I was in elementary school, I rode a Razor scooter with a spark attachment on the back wheel to school every morning. Or when I went to my youth sports games, I would ride in the backseat of a 2001 Toyota Sienna littered with popsicle stains. In second grade, I narrated a school play. I don't remember what the school play was at all, I just remember that I was the narrator for it. Now, where am I going with this? I'm just trying to say that we all have those moments that we call back on and look at fondly. I look at young Brady and think, oh, that kid didn't have to worry about finding a sustainable job to pay your bills, or having an existential crisis at 3 a.m. during the work week. You know, back then I just wanted to be a Major League Baseball pitcher, not anything that wouldn't make me feel miserable like now. And oftentimes when I'm in my own personal doom and gloom, I retreat to my safe place where I don't have to worry about these things as much, known as my room where I play video games. It's something I've done since I was a kid, and the nostalgia just helps me relax. So basically, let's talk about that. When Pokemon Brilliant Diamond came out in late 2021, I was working at a retail store that has a name that sounds similar to Quattro. I was working 40-hour work weeks, and in addition to not really liking my job, my mental state was in a rapid decline of well-being. And as an impressionable young adult, I saw all of my friends from high school having a good time in college from all their social media posts as the pandemic restrictions were starting to get lifted. Meanwhile, I had no clear motive of where I really wanted my life to go and what I wanted to study, so I eventually just dropped out of college for a little bit. Obviously, I couldn't tell any of my friends about the serious FOMO that I was experiencing, and I didn't want them to feel bad for having fun in college because they shouldn't feel bad. If any of you feel sorry for me, don't, because it was a long time ago and I figured some stuff out since then. Essentially, back then I just kept my head down and suppressed my emotions, which put me in an even deeper hole mentally. But when the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes came out and I put the cartridge in my Switch and hit play, about 3 minutes later I hear a familiar noise. This song took me all the way back to a specific memory in 2007 when I was in Wisconsin and my brother let me borrow his navy blue DS Lite and play Pokemon Diamond. This was the first instance of my life where I was really playing a video game for an extended amount of time. And I didn't even remember this memory for the longest time or the song that was tied to it. But I instantly thought of being in my grandmother's bed, pretending that my team of Ponyta and Turtwig and Shinx and whoever else was on my brother's team at the time were like real animals. Fast forward to playing Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl in 2021, and it felt like I was returning to a home that I had long since forgotten. It may seem corny to you, but running through this game as a grown-up kind of served as a reminder of the times that I didn't really worry about what everyone else was doing in my life. And I'd like to think that it's one of the things that helped me start to mainly prioritize my own happiness over everything else now. And beating the game in less than a week compared to my younger self who beat the original Diamond and Pearl in like, I don't know, a month or something, it made me think that maybe I am better than all the things that I was doing back when I was a kid, now that I'm an adult. And I can already hear you start to say, well, that's because the new game was easier, but like, man, just shut up. Let me feel proud of myself. I'm sure many of you out there have key online video game experiences. You know, whether it was your first time you found diamonds on an online Minecraft survival server, Or maybe your friend did something stupid in an online match and you couldn't stop laughing at them. Or, you know, let's be honest, maybe it was the first time you got into a rage war with some 35-year-old in Call of Duty that plays the game all day. Whatever it was, you were there, and whatever happened is now part of your memory forever. Now go back to that time and don't think about the video game you were playing, think about who you were playing it with.
There we go. I killed Eevee. Now deploy Boomer. Oh my god!
Dude, I thought I could.
Unless you were alone, then I guess just think of that 35-year-old man or something. I don't fucking know. But regardless, you aren't thinking of the video game, you're thinking about the people you were playing it with. And it's not only you that has probably significantly grown into a different person than what you were, but that person too. For me, one of those people I think about a lot was one of my old middle school friends. We'll call him Timmy. I actually met Timmy totally by coincidence. In 7th grade, I was solo queuing a game of CSGO and talking to one of my friends on Steam when I was playing it. Like halfway into the game, he messages me and tells me that Timmy is in the same game and on the other team. Mind you, I'd never crossed paths with him at school before because he played basketball and I played baseball, so our groups of friends never consisted of the same people. So at the time I thought, you know, how crazy is that? Like, what are the odds that I would be in the same game as a dude that goes to the same exact middle school as me? So I got in a Skype call with Timmy and my other friend and talked to him about school and video games, and the next day we hung out at school and I found out he lived right down the street from where I lived. And so from that point on, Timmy became a really good friend of mine. You know, he moved away in 2018, so we didn't speak a ton for a while, but I recently reconnected with him on social media and we started to catch up on our lives. I brought up that story recently and we had a laugh about how that was the way that we met each other instead of meeting in person like real people. And that was one of my core multiplayer memories. Those experiences, you know, kind of like riding a bike or gossiping about a crush in 4th grade, they tend to stick to you as reminders of how far you've come in life. And they're also reminders that many of us are right there with you, getting older and experiencing different things. So having nostalgia for memories like that should not be seen as living in the past, because moments like that are just what make you who you are today. I'm on the internet a lot, and one of the dumbest things that I see people talk about all the time is this so-called golden age of video games. Much like how there's no such thing as a best generation of people, unlike what baby boomers and millennials would want you to think, there is no such thing as a golden age of gaming. If you're like me, you're gonna say that the golden age of gaming was the 2000s, right? Like Halo and Call of Duty, Smash Bros. Melee, the good Madden games, you know, it's hard to beat, right? Well, what about the 90s? The original Smash Bros, Mario 64, Crash Bandicoot, Ocarina of Time? It sounds like young people bias to me, doesn't it? Or maybe it was the 2010s. I mean, you had GTA 5, Super Mario Galaxy 2, Red Dead Redemption, Minecraft, Fortnite. I mean, maybe all of you geezers just favor the old stuff. Or maybe it was the... No! I'm sorry, but you guys are all wrong. All of those generations are good because there's no real bad generation of games. Every single year a groundbreaking title comes out. If I was to ask you the best generation of video games, I'm willing to bet that 95% of you are just gonna say the generation of games you just grew up playing. I mean, I would too. I love revisiting my late 2000s, early 2010 games because, you know, they were my bread and butter for gaming as a child. But too many people get in these stupid, meaningless arguments like, Breath of the Wild is better than Ocarina of Time because the graphics are better and there's more stuff to do. Yeah, but Ocarina of Time was the first of its kind and it paved the way for games like this. You younger people are just so spoiled. Or maybe you're just too old to give new games the light of day. Both sides of this argument are both right and wrong here, but mostly just wrong. Who cares what game you like more except for you? Because nobody should care, that's why there are so many different games out there for you to play. I know I make fun of League of Legends a lot, but if that's your game of choice, then you should go ahead and play it. It shouldn't make a difference to you if I say something about it. It seems like people are just trying to dictate what you are and aren't allowed to like, according to their preference. Every generation has great video games, and every generation has equally as many bad video games. The point I'm trying to get at is that there's no golden age of games, that's just your nostalgia talking. I'm not saying you should get new favorite video games. I'm just saying that people grew up playing different games than you did, and you don't have a say of which upbringing was better. So maybe be mindful of that next time you go to bat to defend Metroid Prime in the comment section of a YouTube video talking about how they didn't enjoy the game. As this video comes to an end, I just want to say that video games are so much more than a bunch of pixels slapped together on a computer. They offer an escape from the harsh realities of life, or a way to communicate with some of your best friends. And they're something that you should look back on fondly as a character-building moment to the person that you'll eventually become. Just don't go overboard about your favorite video game. I think a lot of times as people, we use how we feel about certain games or other forms of media and direct it into our everyday lives and become jerks, so just make sure not to do that. And as I'm finishing this script, I just saw a video of why Valorant is better than CSGO, so actually, you know what? I take back everything that I just said.